Across the wires and through the air, those who seek will find me there. Story, wonder, voice, and art find the ears and find the heart. The fields are full of daffodils, the woods are full of birds, and all the world is glad with spring, and all the air with words. April by John Masefield. My dear listener, April is the month where spring truly finds its footing. March cracks the door open, but April walks fully into the room. The ground warms, the rain returns, leaves unfurl, and everywhere you look, something is waking up. The very name April is believed to come from the Latin word aperire, meaning to open. Flowers open, trees open, the earth itself opens up to receive warmth, light, growth. And so naturally, April isn't really viewed as a calm month. It's famous for its contradictions. Bright sun one moment, thunderclouds the next. Tender blossoms shaking beneath wild winds, sudden warmth and cool nights. In folk tradition, April was often seen as a month of threshold energy, a time when the world is neither fully spring nor completely in winter's shadow. For witches and magical practitioners, this liminal quality makes April powerful. It's a month of emergence, courage, and transformation. Seeds split open underground. Animals return from migration and hibernation, and storms cleanse the air, all in April. The magic of April lives in its movement. It's a time for beginning things, taking brave steps forward, and for allowing yourself to grow into the next version of who you are becoming. Some traditional magical correspondences for April include soft greens, yellows, pinks, and sky blues for the colors, diamonds, clear quartz, selenite, and moonstone for the stones, daisies, sweet peas, tulips, and violets, especially wild violets, for the flowers, rabbits, bees, and returning songbirds for the creatures, and elementally, it is a season of fire, of momentum, of springing forward, of vibrancy, of the will to live. Together, all of these correspondences create a picture of the fertile chaos of spring. But, of course, like any correspondences, take what is best for you. Whatever calls to your heart and your soul is always going to work best for your practice. These are just mine. And they're the correspondences I'm noticing this year and that I feel align with April's energy, as well as some of the traditional correspondences for April. Now that we have checked in with the energy of April, and we have a kind of snapshot understanding of what this month brings, let's dive right into April's astrology, because there's a lot to go over, and I am so ready to pop over to the cosmic cauldron and see what's inside. April begins under the light of a full moon in 12 degrees of Libra. Libra, the sign of balance and relationship. It's also the great negotiator of the zodiac. Libra asks us to consider harmony, fairness, and the delicate dance between our own needs and the needs of others. We know that full moons illuminate. They reveal what has been building beneath the surface. So under this moon, conversations around partnerships, friendships, and agreements may come to the forefront. It's a powerful time for restoring balance, clearing up misunderstandings, or recognizing where something in your life has tipped too far in one direction. If March asked us to plant seeds, this Libra moon is going to show you who's meant to grow alongside you. Moving on to April 9th, Mars enters Aries. Mars is the ruler of Aries, so this placement is like lighting a match on dry grass. Energy rises quickly, motivation surges, and courage returns. This transit invites boldness, but also asks for our awareness. Mars and Aries can be wonderfully empowering, pushing us to act, create, and move forward. But it can also make tempers quick and patience short, so just be aware. This is excellent energy for starting projects, initiating plans, and reclaiming your personal momentum, which is what I will be doing. Things become a little bit more mystical for us all on April 13th, when Mars conjoins Neptune in Aries. Mars wants you to act. Neptune dissolves boundaries, and so when they meet, action can become inspired or potentially confusing. Some people may feel deeply creative, spiritually energized, or drawn towards visionary ideas. Others could feel foggy about which direction they should go. The key here is your intuition. Let inspiration guide you, but give big decisions in your life a little time to settle before you commit fully. Luckily for us, this very same day brings a very helpful influence. Venus is sextile Jupiter. This is one of the sweeter transits of the month. Venus and Jupiter together create warmth, generosity, and a sense of possibility in relationships and creative collaborations. It's a wonderful day for artistic work, romance, friendship, and celebrating the beauty of connection. Then, on April 16th, something rare and powerful occurs. We have a Chiron Cazimi in Aries. And y'all, I am very excited for this day. A Cazimi is one of the best things we can experience in astrology. They always feel great. And for those who don't know, a planet is said to be in Cazimi when it sits directly in the heart of the sun, receiving a moment of extraordinary clarity and illumination from the biggest luminary in our solar system. A Chiron Cazimi in Aries is extra powerful. Chiron is known as the wounded healer, the archetype of transforming pain into wisdom. So this moment may bring deep realizations about old wounds, especially those tied to identity, courage, and self-worth. But unlike moments where wounds reopen painfully, a Chiron Cazimi often offers insight, perspective, and the chance to reclaim personal power, which Aries is all about. We die 1,000 deaths and come back better and stronger each time. That is Aries' journey, which we'll get into a little bit later. But this is a hardcore Aries energy, height of Aries season day, and I want you to take full advantage of this day. Now, the very next day, on April 17th, brings the new moon in Aries at 27 degrees. New moons are new beginnings. They are moments when the sky goes dark so that something new can be planted, so that it can get started. Aries energy is bold and fiercely independent. So this moon invites us to start something that belongs entirely to us. A personal goal, a brave decision, a new chapter of self-direction. This is the kind of new moon that whispers, if not now, when? That very same day, Mercury conjoins Neptune and adds a dreamy, imaginative quality to communication and thought. Ideas may come through dreams, intuition, or unexpected flashes of insight and inspiration. So, write things down. Pay attention to symbols. Your mind may be receiving the messages of this day in unusual ways. So, be aware and be prepared. On April 19th, Mars meets Saturn in Aries. This is a classic stop-and-go transit. Mars wants to charge forward, but Saturn represents structure, discipline, and boundaries. So, you may feel the urge to push ahead while encountering some obstacles or challenges that force you to slow down. Rather than reacting in frustration, think of this day as a strategic repacing. Saturn teaches us patience and precision, so use this energy to refine plans rather than rushing them. Sometimes the universe gives us days like this not to stop our progress, but to strengthen it. Then we have April 20th, where several significant shifts are occurring. First, we have Mercury conjoining Saturn and Mars, which brings intensity to communication and decision-making, where words may feel sharper, conversations may feel more serious, and thoughts might be a little bit more focused. This energy can be very productive if directed towards planning, problem-solving, and constructive work. This is your get shit done day, April 20th. If you've wanted to have a day where you just sat down and gave yourself the time to sort your business, this is the day. On this same day, the Sun enters Taurus, making the true arrival of earthy spring and all the energy that comes with it the base of this shift. Aries season was the spark of life, the momentum to get things moving, and Taurus season is when that spark begins to root into the soil and really dig in and grow. Taurus reminds us to slow down, to savor the beauty of life, and to build things that we believe in and that last. Gardens, relationships, creative projects, anything that requires patience and care will thrive under the energy of this day if you decide to start something on this day. Let it be something that is a long-term goal that brings you those Taurian vibes of beauty, peace, and slowing down in order to savor the moment and also save you from a headache. On April 24th, Venus enters Gemini. This is bringing in a lighter, more curious tone to relationships and creativity. Gemini energy loves conversation. It loves storytelling. It loves intellectual connection. And Gemini energy and just Geminis in general, they love to flirt. So you might find yourself drawn towards flirting with new ideas, interesting people, or exploring something creatively that you might not have ever considered before. This is a great time for writing, learning, for networking. Oh my God, excellent day for networking, and for sharing whatever inspires you in order to really cultivate inviting more of that into your life. Then, on April 26th, we reach one of the most significant astrological shifts of the year. Uranus enters Gemini, beginning a very long cycle that's going to last until 2033. 2033. This is very special because the number 33 is very special. Spiritually, the number 33 is a master number. It is the number of ultimate spiritual evolution. It is a spiritually whole number. It holds within it divine compassion, divine nurturing, and a incredibly high level of conscious awareness. This number is often associated with ascended masters, spiritual teachers, and guides, and you experience the number 33 when you are approaching divine fulfillment on your soul contracts, on the promises you make in this life and other lifetimes, and when you engage with deep, selfless commitment to your healing and to your path. I am a 33 girly. I have this number tattooed on my body because I really believe in the path and the power of 33. So put this one on your calendars, folks. April 26th, Uranus enters Gemini, and it's going into this cycle that's going to last until 2033. That means that collectively, we are entering with the planet Uranus. Uranus is the planet of innovation, disruption, and awakening. Gemini rules communication, information, language, and technology. So over the coming years, we're going to see profound changes, y'all, on how knowledge moves through the world. We're going to have breakthroughs in technology, communication systems, education, and digital landscapes. And for individuals, this transit is inviting us into curiosity and adaptability. The world is going to change quickly, but Gemini reminds us that learning and flexibility are powerful tools. And applying Gemini's propensity for curiosity, for playfulness, for flirting with new ideas, with the energy of the master number 33, flirting with the idea of ultimate spiritual evolution for humanity through divine nurturing and compassion. Oh my goddess. This is what we need right now. And I am stoked for this transit and this day. And I want you to be stoked too. I want you to ask yourself what that feels like in your body when you hear me talk about it and you hear my excitement. What do you have that excitement? Do you have hesitation towards that possibility of a collective future we can build together? Sit with that before April 26th and consider that before we go into this transit. And that's just where I'm going to leave that, because I could probably talk about that day for a very long time. And I tend to wax poetic on things like that, so we won't do that right now. We have one more day to talk about, which is April 29th. And this is when Venus is squaring the lunar nodes, creating a moment of reflection around our relationships, our values, and our financial decisions. The lunar nodes represent the past and the future paths of destiny, which seems to be a running theme for April. We are really playing with our path that we are walking, our many paths, the ever-expanding spiral path that is our life, and the choices that we make to get us further along that path is the vibe of April and this part of spring. So when Venus interacts with the lunar nodes of destiny, we might face choices that are going to ask us to align our relationships and values with the life that we are truly meant to build, that really lights us up and calls us further down that spiral path, further into that spiral path. Some connections will deepen on this day, others will shift, and what matters most is that you are choosing what supports your long-term growth and authenticity. That's a theme for right now with the Wisteria episode, and now moving into April and the energy of April. Long-term growth and authenticity is the key and what should be our guiding light towards our true north, moving us forward in the upcoming month. Overall, April is a month of movement, of courage, and of recalibration, and it begins with balance, and it builds through bold action, and it ends with the promise of transformation. The sky this month reminds us that growth happens when we step forward, even when the path ahead of us is still unfolding. And with that, let's move on to the folklore segment and learn a little bit about the folklore this month. I think that you're going to like this. My dear listener, April is wet. So it's no shock that April has long been associated with rain, fertility, and playful, flirtatious trickery. One of the oldest sayings in English and in English folklore is, April showers bring May flowers. I know that you've heard this before. I've heard it a billion times because this proverb appears in writings as far back as the 1500s. And it was most likely something that reminded farmers and gardeners alike that the unpredictable rains of early spring are necessary for the abundance that follows. Rain itself had magical meaning in many traditions. April rainwater was sometimes collected in bowls and jars and was believed to carry cleansing and blessing properties. Some folk healers would wash their faces in the first rains of April to encourage beauty, health, and vitality for the upcoming year. April is also the home of one of the most playful holidays in the Western calendar, April Fool's Day. And though its exact origins are debated, many historians believe that it may trace back to medieval festivals of misrule, celebrations where the usual rules of society were temporarily suspended. Servants might play tricks on masters, fools might be crowned mock kings, and everyday order gave way to laughter and harmless chaos. At first glance, it might seem like a simple day for pranks, but beneath that humor lives a much older symbolic current. In magical folklore, this spirit of playful disruption echoes the archetype of the trickster, the sacred mischief maker found in myths all over the world. Trickster figures like Loki, Hermes, Anansi, or Coyote that all challenge the status quo. They overturn expectations, reveal hidden truths, and remind us that reality is not always as rigid as it appears. But Aries also resonates strongly with another archetype familiar to many magical practitioners, and that is the Fool from the Tarot. In the Tarot, the Fool is numbered 0, the card that exists both before and outside of the rest of the deck. The Fool stands at the beginning of a journey, stepping towards the unknown with curiosity, innocence, and with a certain wild faith in possibility. He carries only a small bag of belongings, and a small white dog leaps beside him. And ahead of him is a cliff, the great leap into experience and the unknown. Contrary to popular belief and something that might be missed by folks who are beginning a tarot journey or who don't know anything about the tarot, is that the Fool isn't foolish because he lacks wisdom. He's foolish because he is willing to begin. He's willing to take that leap. He's willing to explore, even though he doesn't know what he could possibly know or what could possibly be out there. He doesn't know, and he's willing to go find out. And to some, that may seem foolish, and to others, that makes him a magician, which moves him from 0 to 1 in the tarot. April carries this energy. The world is beginning again. Buds push forward without knowing what storms may come, and seeds break open underground without any guarantee of success. Birds return from migration, trusting that the seasons will hold, and that home is on the horizon. There is courage in this kind of beginning, and there's humor there too, because the Fool reminds us that life does not always reward careful planning alone, and that sometimes growth requires playfulness, curiosity, and the willingness to step off of the safe path and into something new. April's storms, its sudden warmth and unpredictable weather reflect this archetypal dance between chaos and possibility. The Fool teaches us that not knowing the outcome is not a failure of wisdom, but rather the beginning of an adventure. And so, April invites us to embody a little bit of that Fool energy in ourselves, to laugh freely, to experiment, and to engage with the world curiously. Because sometimes the most magical step we can take is simply the first one. If you've ever walked along an open field or a roadside and seen a tall plant rising like a golden torch above the grasses, you may have encountered mullein. Mullein is one of the most recognizable wild herbs of the temperate world. In its first year, it grows as a very low rosette of thick, velvety leaves that feel almost like a soft felt. In its second year, it tends to send up a very tall, flowering stalk that can reach 6 feet or more, and is crowned with clusters of small yellow blossoms. Because of its striking appearance, mullein has gathered many evocative folk names over the centuries. And honestly, these names and how far back it goes with witches is why it's this month's herb of the month. It has names like hag's taper, witch torch, and candlewick plant. Super witchy, right? In medieval Europe, the dried stalks of mullein were sometimes dipped in tallow or wax and burned as torches during nighttime processions and funeral rites and anything else you might need a torch for. This practice gave rise to its association with guiding spirits and protecting travelers through dark places, and is why it is a favorite herbal ally of those dedicated to Hecate. In other magical traditions, mullein has long been connected with protection, courage, and spirit communication. Some folk practitioners believed that carrying mullein could ward off evil spirits or wandering ghosts, and others used it in rituals meant to strengthen the breath and life force. And interestingly enough, that connection to the breath, to life force, appears not only in folklore, but also in herbal medicine as well. You see, mullein has been valued for centuries as a gentle and supportive herb for the respiratory system. The leaves are often used in teas, tinctures, or herbal smoking blends to help soothe irritated lungs and ease coughs. Herbalists frequently turn to mullein during cold season to support clear breathing. The flowers of the plant are also infused into oil to create mullein flower oil, a traditional preparation that is sometimes used in ear remedies to soothe discomfort and inflammation in the ear. Because the leaves are soft, they are covered in little teeny tiny soft hairs. So they are typically strained carefully when used in tea so that the mixture doesn't actually do worse things and irritate the throat more. The most common way to use mullein to clear the lungs and encourage deeper breathing and clearer breath is by smoking it. However, herbalists also sometimes incorporate mullein into topical oils for minor skin irritations or inflammation, thanks to its many really potent soothing qualities. But as always with herbs, proper identification and research are essential before use, and though mullein is widely considered one of the more approachable medicinal plants, please make sure you do your research and you are identifying properly. Magically, mullein carries the energy of fire and protection. Some ways that witches have worked with mullein include burning the dry leaves in any kind of ritual, but especially like protection rituals or rituals where you're talking to spirits or ancestors, to either make a boundary or to use the smoke for smoke scrying, for courage during travel, a small sachet or whatever your preferred method of carrying plants around with you is, carrying that with you during travel can protect and encourage strength and resiliency while you're traveling, as well as that clearing the path and keeping the path safe for travelers like I mentioned before, and creating small protection bundles for the home. either by just bundling the herb and setting it in corners or above doorways, or putting it into sachets with maybe some other herbs and under pillows to chase away nightmares and just keep the household peaceful and safe and calm. Mullein having that tall, flowering stalk that reaches towards the sky also can make it a really potent symbol for standing strong in your own power. So if you're going into any kind of situation where you need that kind of strength, mullein might be a great ally to reach for in those kinds of situations. Like a torch in the dark, mullein reminds us that sometimes the simplest plants, sometimes the most unassuming plants, can carry the most potent medicine. North, south, east, west, the quarters are called, and the circle is cast. Welcome to the Learning Circle. This is our segment where we do a little bit of Magic 101, because I know that I have some brand new witches listening, and I'm so happy you're here. A question that I've gotten a bit in my experience, my long journey with being a magical person and practitioner, is should you call a circle? And this is something I love to talk about because it really can divide people. But it's a good thing to explore. Do you need to cast a circle before doing magic? And the answer is, it depends. Casting a magical circle is a practice that comes primarily from ceremonial magic, or high magic, and from Wiccan traditions, where the circle acts as both a sacred container and a protective boundary for ritual work. Within that context, the circle serves several purposes. It marks the ritual space, which is why I enjoy it, and it separates the magical world from the everyday one and creates a focused container for the energy. However, many folks that perform different kinds of folk magic or solitary magic or that aren't in a kind of traditional witchcraft don't use circles at all. Instead of drawing a boundary around themselves, they might simply speak a prayer or a charm or a chant. They might light a candle. They might just work with the land directly or the spirits that are present directly, and neither approach is more correct than the other. Casting a circle can be beautiful and powerful, especially for larger workings, longer workings, or formal rituals, or group ceremonies or rituals, and for spirit work. If you are working with spirits, calling spirits in, I really highly recommend a circle. But it's not the only way. You don't have to do it that way. Magic also exists in quieter forms. Whispered over a cup of tea, planted in the soil of your garden, or spoken softly into the wind. Those are all valid forms of magic, and they can be done in a circle or outside of a circle. If you feel called to circles, if you're questioning, should I call a circle or not? The answer is explore it. Explore them. Explore calling a circle. Try a different way of calling a circle than you've done before. Or if you've never called a circle, try calling one and see how your practice shifts within a circle or without a circle and how it feels to you. How you work with that practice. And know that if you decide that they're not for you, that your practice can be deeply meaningful and effective even without a circle. Because magic is not defined by strict rules. It's defined by your relationship to it, your relationship to yourself, your relationship to the world around you, as well as your intention and your presence. That's always what you are going to come back to, and that is going to be your guiding light, your true north, and what makes your practice powerful. Before we leave the circle today, I want to leave you with some practical magic that you can try this April, inside or outside of a circle. And it is a simple rain blessing. So this requires a little bit of planning, looking at the weather and seeing when the rain is coming your way. But next time that you're due for a storm and a gentle spring rain arrives, I want you to step outside for a moment and allow a few drops of that rain to touch your hands. As the rain falls, I want you to imagine that it's washing away all of the stagnation, the worry, and the heaviness that you've carried, that you've picked up, that's gotten stuck in all of the folds and the cracks in your hands that do so much for you every single day. And as the rain falls, I want you to imagine that you are washing your hands with that rainwater, washing away stagnation, worry, and heaviness from the winter, from the past months, or from whatever you need to wash it away from. I want you to wash your hands in this spring rain and whisper to yourself, as the rain renews the earth, so too does it renew me. And then let that water carry away what you don't need anymore. Let it carry that away. Bonus points if you do this during a raging storm. It will certainly add oomph, and you'll feel the difference. I could actually even challenge you to do it during a gentle rain and then also during a storm so that you can start to gauge that difference and feel if you like that or not, if you would want to work with that kind of energy or not, if you feel different in your body, and how you carry that into the next days after these rituals are done. Now, my dear listener, that is all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this Almanac episode, this April Almanac episode. April is my month. I'm an Aries. My birthday is April 8th, and I am just so excited for the energy that we have coming towards us right now. And before I leave you today, I'm going to leave you with a closing blessing for April. I want you to take this with you, carry it in your heart, put it in your grimoire, put it in your journal, or just close your eyes and take a moment to let this blessing wash over you as we move into this wonderful, fiery month of spring. As April unfolds around you, may you feel the quiet courage of the seed. May you trust the slow unfolding of your own becoming. May the spring rains wash away what no longer serves you, and may sunlight warm the places that are still waking. And may wild, hopeful magic remind you that growth is always possible, even after the longest winter. Blessed April, my dear listener. My name is Wishamaya. Don't forget to keep your roots deep and your dreams wild.